Welcome to the Gaming Trend Podcast, the official podcast of GamingTrend.com. My name is Anthony Shelton, and I am joined by David Burdett.
Phase up.
If I could leave right now, I would.
Wearing the jersey, boy.
You can cut off your webcam. Absolutely.
Update my computer again. I'll be gone.
And Noah Rigsby.
I'm here with Phase Boy, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, come on, boy.
Sounds like it's Phase Boy.
Sounds
like a kindergarten insult.
The jersey gonna be done simp. You got the glasses to match.
I've got the glasses, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I wear these are my daily glasses, though, admittedly. So
fair. All right. Well, besides Phase, in this podcast, we talk about the latest games we could get our hands on. We talk about games in our backlog we should have played a long time ago, and games you absolutely need to play. We also squeeze in news. This week, I'll be honest, there wasn't much.
It's a little bit like nothing. It's pretty quiet.
A little thin. You know, the video game gods did not give us anything to work with this week, so we are going to make something to work with. We are going to bake our cake. So not a bunch of news, not a bunch of games, but we're going to try a few things this week, a few of our own inventions this week. But David can take us through two games he played, being Tchia and Pavlov. So let's just get started with one of those. David, I will let you choose which one you want to start with.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and start with Tchia. Tchia, as of the airing of this podcast, we should be able to talk fully about this. Review should be just going live on gamingtrend.com. And you know what? Tchia is a whole lot of fun. I think we discussed a little bit of Tchia when it came to like the preview time with kind of how it plays, all these different things about it. It's the biggest thing right off the bat. This game is beautiful. It looks gorgeous. Everything about it, like the characters, they're cartoony, but it's in that lovable, like, specific art style where you just really enjoy the way that it looks. But then the actual environments look really good too, like the mountains, the hills, the valleys, the ocean especially looks just fantastic with the light shining down on it. The only area that I even went to that I was like, man, this just doesn't look as good is there is a city area that's in the game, and it's a lot more bare bones, and you can tell just there's not as much attention to detail that's being able to be placed into it, as this is a more of is just an indie game. So what they're accomplishing already in this game, though, is just, I mean, you can see it just on the screen from the way this is opening up. If you're watching the podcast, it's just pretty to look at. There are not enough games out there that you can kind of just chill when you're playing. And Tchia is a game where you can just chill while you're playing it. There's not a lot of enemies that you go around fighting on this island. There's not a lot of combat. It's more just about exploring and enjoying yourself. Even when you're in these combat encounters, they're very quick and very simple encounters that you have. So most of what you're doing is exploring. There's some minor platforming, puzzle solving that you'll have to do, but a lot of it's kind of like if you took Breath of the Wild and Wind Waker and kind of mashed them up together is a good way of putting this, because it's that cartoony art style, that more chill look, but with this more open exploration that you can do, because it's got the old stamina meter. You can climb everything, you can glide around, several mechanics that you're going to remember. I really like the physics engine that they've got in this one, because one of the things I ended up learning, everybody knows that when I play a video game, I love sliding around. And in Tchia, there is a slide mechanic. Now, you can't slide uphill, but boy, you get to one of these mountains and you got a nice incline and you hit the slide. I mean, you sliding all the way down if you've got a clear pass, and it's fast. Like, it's reacting to the fact that you are sliding down such an incline as what you are. So that was fun to mess around with. The culture that is on display We're watching right now just one of the opening cutscenes, and they actually tell like the story. There's a bunch of folklore in the background, tales that they have in the background that you just love. The developer, I believe it's Awaseb, they they are from a small island called New Caledonia. It's in the Pacific Ocean. I believe it's over New Zealand. And this island that they've made in the game is actually based off of New Caledonia. So a lot of the sites, a lot of the places you're going to see are actually from there. It's just obviously you have to change some things because legalese and all that fun stuff, but you can really tell with their passion kind of bleeding through with just some of the different songs that's in there, the way that they show off the culture. I've really enjoyed seeing the world that they lived in, knowing that this is a representation of where these developers lived, because it's not a very big team, but the ones that live there, the fact that they've got them there is awesome. The whole game is presented in French and Drehu is the language. So when you see all the subtitles, that's the only way that you can figure it all out, is you're having to read it unless you're fluent in French or Drehu. So I really, really liked the immersion of it. I say that as someone who doesn't prefer to read subtitles. It fits this game. It fits it really, really well. What didn't fit as well for me was some of the different story beats. First off, I guess with it, I'm very surprised that, and I guess it's just some of the different folk tales, the way that they've constructed everything. It is very intense, some of these scenes. Like you actually, people die. um Not to, I'll go ahead and kind of spoiler warning right now if you're listening to this, but there's actually a moment where the main villain actually eats a baby. Like it's cartoony, so it's not like the most graphic thing in the world. Obviously, he just swallows the thing whole, and some of the story like makes it not as bad with the way that the story. But in that moment, if you just are just sitting there playing, right from that moment, you're like, "Oh, what just happened?" So it kind of surprises you with some of the intensity. That isn't like what I didn't find right about the story, because one of the nice things they do include is there is a family mode filter, so that you can, I'm unsure how you would filter the scene, but I'm assuming that scene, there's a way that they are filtering out that in particular, because I do not see there being any way that that scene would stay in a family mode. So I do appreciate the fact of they are considering the fact that children will be playing this game. and and that's not exactly what your 5-year-old wants to see when they're playing a cutesy little game as a main villain who's eating a child. But from there, the story, it is a fun story to follow, but it is a little hard to follow. A lot of it is just the fact that it's very vague with some of it, because it just kind of it's a shorter story, so it just kind of goes through all of its beats with what's going on, and that's it. You don't get a ton of backstory beyond a specific way that they tell the backstory. So you there's so much that I feel like is left unsaid with what they have gone with the narrative, and I would have loved to seen it investigated further. Like there are some great characters in Tchia that you just love, just their appearances. They're just very fun characters to engage with, and a lot of them you don't get a lot of time, so it feels like there's a depth that's missing, not just in the characters but in the story, because it feels like the story was almost it was almost like it was afraid to overstay its welcome, and left too quickly. So I really would have liked to have seen more out of the story in Tchia, because it has a lot of potential. Especially there's some heartwarming moments that you experience as you go through and enjoy with everything that you do, but it feels like it stops every time you feel like you're getting somewhere and learning something. It's like, oh wait, we got to go ahead and button this area up. So it feels like everything's just okay. Here's this button up. Here's this button up. You don't really get as far as you would like with any of the story. It does bring itself to an end. You do get closure, but it doesn't feel like you get everything. Not everything is fully developed. Is probably the best thing on it. The open world's a lot of fun. It's a lot bigger than most people would think. You have 2 whole islands that you can go through, and there's some empty space, but there's a lot in the world. I was discussing with Anthony. I have a screenshot of the points of interest on the island, and I mean just the, and it's the largest thing, but in the video you saw me pick up this braided character. There are 180 of those to find in the world. Like that there's a lot of exploring that you can do, and not everything is right away put on the map. So it's one of those things of the game somewhat falls into some of those open world tropes of, oh, we've got a big world, we've got to fill it with something. And it's certainly a lot easier to fill that world with a collectible as opposed to an extra mission or a side mission or something like that. And that's what a lot of what you encounter in the world are. Even like there's the kind of almost the bandit camp kind of idea, and even those the little bit of combat you get in the game, you finish those encounters if you know what you're doing. I finished most of those encounters in less than a minute because there's not a lot of soldiers, there's not a lot of specifics there. So it's one of those areas where, is it a beautiful world? Is it a lot of fun to explore? Yes, but the things that there are to do in it, it leaves you feeling like it's a lot more padding than it is fully developed. Again, there are some really great upgrades you can get from some of the things, but it's just kind of disappointing that it fell into these open world tropes when it's such a beautiful world to explore. You want to feel rewarded more than you often are. Some of the things that are fantastic in the game, though, we were talking about the culture. One of the things that's on the screen right now is actually my character playing a song, and it's just a rhythm based thing right here, but you do get a ukulele in the game, and you can, fun enough, you can actually play some specific 4-key tunes and bring things into the world. Like you can actually change your time of day using your ukulele, as well as like there's certain, you can spawn a pig, or you could spawn a bird or something like that, which can be useful to you using your ukulele, which I think is pretty awesome. That ukulele is also used in these musical numbers, and like, yeah, it's the old, point in a direction and make sure you're clicking on time rhythm game kind of thing. But the songs are so beautiful that I love listening to all of them. There's not a single song that they did that I wasn't just like, oh, this is just like the culture from New Caledonia is just on full display with this. I'll admit that I did hit autoplay several times because I didn't want to fail, but that's kind of a nice benefit to have, especially if you have a younger kid playing, or somebody who may have a disability and can't do all of that. It's nice that that's available, which, speaking of the accessibility kind of options, there actually is a lot. We already talked about family mode. They've got all the different aim assist, motion aiming, inverting controls, all kinds of different stuff. They've got it where you can change instead of mashing a button for things, you can just hold that for the prompt. The button for the prompt. They've got more legible font. There's a no-fail mode, so really any kid can play this game because it's straight up no-fail. Now, where that's important, because Tchia goes with stamina over an actual health bar. Like, you run out of stamina is how you die, so to speak, but Tchia faints. No fail, it's important for that because there are some puzzle sequences that, you know, you'd prefer to not lose because you just ran out of stamina. So I'm assuming that that's part of that, as well as with the not just no fail, there's actually an option to completely skip the current gameplay segment. And I think that's really cool because if I'm in particular like a little kid and I'm struggling specifically with a puzzle, there's actually one towards the end of the game that is a very tough platforming section. I did a pretty good job with it just because I'm used to those kind of things, but it was still really tough. Like I'll admit that I got lucky with the timings on some of them, but for a kid that's just not going to happen. So it would be easier to just be able to skip over that gameplay segment. And that's just a nice way of being able to continue on, let people be able to play the game. It's good for people to be able to play video games, anybody to be able to play video games. So the fact that that's available to me is great. Beyond that, it's just a charming, cutesy game that it's going to be in PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. So it's just a ton of fun. Uh, as many, I know it sounds like I've been sitting here just dogging on the game with some of the things that I didn't like. The environment, the locations that you get to visit, the world, and the exploration, along with the fun of just moving around and exploring everything. It just makes it completely worth playing. It's a lot of fun to explore this world, and especially to just drink in the culture of New Caledonia. That it's so easy to see just how passionate that these devs were for this game, and I really love it when a dev gets to put their heart and soul into a game. Like when it's not just, oh, I've got to develop this game. Like when this is their passion project, I love getting to see those. Like Pentiment was a game last year. Absolutely one of my favorite games of last year. What was it? It was a passion project from the dev. Like he really loved the idea. Josh Sawyer did. So I saw that in every bit of it. And that's the thing with Tchia. Yes, there are some issues. There are some things that I did not care for, but the passion that is in this project is so evident that it makes you forget some of these other things because you're enjoying the game itself so much, because you can feel that passion behind it. So their love for what they did made me love this game. So that's Chia. We gave it an 80 out of 100. It's a great game. It's a great game, even with some of the things that the potential that it doesn't reach. And that's really probably the biggest thing is there's some potential that it didn't reach, but you know what? It does well. That we already had PlayStation helping fund this project and whatnot. Chia 2, expansion of DLC or something. There's always that opportunity to reach that potential by adding more to the game or making a sequel.
When I was looking at gameplay from your gameplay and gameplay around YouTube, I felt like I saw a lot of instances where Tchia was given a quest to do, and it was a classic fetch quest.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of those?
You do have a good amount of those. However, most of that I feel like happened a lot more at the very beginning. Like most of your quests are, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. Most of the quests that I remember doing, like it was more talking to a specific character and going and finding a specific character as opposed to just being all fetch quests. There are plenty of those in the game.
Okay. I was just hoping it wasn't, because that was all I was seeing. I was like, oh God, if this keeps showing
Yeah.
up, then frick,
Well, and I
I
guess
will
it's
bounce
it
off
does
of this game very fast.
well, and I guess it does boil down to, once again, a fetch quest is annoying if the fetch where you're doing the fetching is annoying. So I have a
I think
lot
it's how
more
it's
link.
framed
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, I have a
Like, I
lot more
think,
leniency for the fetch quest when I'm enjoying the fetching.
yeah, sure. Um, but if it's, go grab me 20 of these things and go grab me this, that, and the other. Okay,
It
all right.
was never any of the fetch quests. It was never an exorbitant amount. Like anytime I was doing that, like
Sure.
one of the times, and I think I mentioned this in the last one, your soul jumping ability, which is something I really didn't talk about in this, is you
Yeah,
can
go ahead and talk about that.
possess. Well, you can possess, of course, different animals, different creatures. That was something that was a lot of fun because when I was trying to do some of these missions, some places are hard to get to, so I would use soul jump into a bird, and fly up to that place. So it would make that easier. The same thing with some of the other different things. Like I once again spawned halfway across. I was halfway across the island, going to my next thing that I was trying to do. So I jumped into a deer and sprinted most of the way, a lot faster than I would have. So it's coming up with different ways to use that to your advantage. Like one of the things you can do with enemies, your enemies are these fabric soldiers. That the only way to kill them is to burn them. So I would just jump into a was it a lantern, and then I would launch, essentially unpossess them by aiming and launching the lantern at them,
That's
and it
fun.
would just explode and catch them on fire. So it was just these fun ways of being able to do these different things. The soul jumping, for instance, with one of the fetch quests, you're supposed to get a chicken egg. So I went around the chicken pens and everything, could not find chicken egg for, I was annoyed because I couldn't find it and whatnot. I ended up going and possessing the chicken, found out there was a button for laying an egg. So I laid the egg, unpossessed, grabbed the egg, and put it in my backpack. Boom, done. So it's like these little
Yeah, that's
fun little
clever.
things that you can use with this. And a lot of mine was really traversal oriented, but it's fun to just see what you can get away with because there's a lot of different, it's not just animals. You can possess rocks and different things and try to use these different ways of solving puzzles to your advantage. And it's a neat idea.
Were a lot of the fetch quests like puzzle related that you had to figure out to complete, or was it just, hey, go grab this?
Some of them are easy, like the one that is on the screen where I'm actually having to go and dive for pearls, which some of it a lot of it ends up on the map if you go and you do your little Assassin's Creed Tower call out thing that makes things pop up. Uh, but I can at least say that several of the things that I did I had to figure out that way, or and the fun thing is some stuff that you have to fetch like isn't obvious in the world. Like there was one of the times that I had to find a taro root and a potato, or a yam I should say, and I ended up finding it randomly in a village. Like you've got to think about where you're going. They don't just mark on the map every little thing that you've got to go find. So when you add exploration to the fetching and trying to figure that out, it makes it more fun. Uh, at least most of the time, if you can't. So sometimes you do have to use your noggin a little bit and be like, okay, this village is growing a lot of things. I need to go and see where they're keeping all of their veggies and stuff like that. So
Okay.
Hmm.
Tchia.
it's
No,
fun.
just playing. Um,
Yeah, trust me, I have thought of using that as
no.
in the title, but no.
um, no, it does look like a beautiful game. I love how they incorporate certain cultural elements. Oh yes, that actually brings up one question. How, when I was watching this footage, as well as other footage related to the story and the cultural elements, it felt like the tone was off sometimes. So you talk about death, for example, something interesting would happen, maybe sad, maybe, whatever, a feeling that could be negatively associated, right? And then, like, next thing you know, you're singing a song like this. Like what's happening on screen, right? Like, and I feel like there's some moments like that where it felt like, I don't quite get like what I mean. I guess if you've been watching this entire gameplay, like you see what happens to father, and then here they are, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, wait a minute, is this like how they deal with like trauma and like they start singing to make the it? I don't say that sarcastically. There are some cultures where they take a moment to do something spiritual before they handle a situation. So I'm really not trying to suggest this facetiously. However, in the game, it comes off like tonally off. Do you feel that way? Is that a recurring theme? How can you speak on that?
I think honestly, I believe that it's a very musical culture, and especially if you look at the lyrics, for instance, is it just said, "I will go on a quest and find some friends and foes." Uh, the songs a lot of times are actually just kind of introducing you on the next step. So I think it's probably a cultural thing. At least seems like it to
It,
me.
it
There
feels more
there
like
are
that for
some
you. Okay.
and there are I'll admit that there are some moments that do feel kind of odd. I'm not sure if it's just once again the culture and the way that the culture frames things. Uh, but for the most part, I think that it's easy enough to digest what is going on, at least personally. And I feel like they do a good job of explaining why they're doing it. Like it's a lot of cultural ways that they are doing things. So
Okay. All right. That is Gia. Very good. All right, Dave. Well, David, keep going. You play something else too.
yep.
This
And
is the
now
David
Drink
Burnett
some
show.
water. Drink some
now
water and round two.
Yeah.
exactly.
Go ahead. Go get your little phase water. There you go.
Now into something completely different. I got under the helmet, so to speak. We jumped into Pavlov, which is it's a game that's actually been out for a while. I believe it's available on Oculus Quest, it's on several different VR devices. But we got to play it on the PlayStation VR 2. Um, a lot of people would say this is Counter-Strike essentially in VR, and they're not really too far off of the reservation with it. It's pretty fun though. I One of the things I always worry about whenever I mess around with any shooter in VR is, you know, it's VR or shooting first person shooters tend to be very quick twitch. Very, I've got to quickly figure things out. I got to quickly do this. I got to quickly do that. And you're adding extra button presses, extra steps to things. Because when you're playing this game, it's not just press a button to reload. It is, I have to reach up. I have to grab the mag out, throw it down, grab a fresh mag out of my ammo, snap it into place. And depending on if I'm cheesing the system and like getting rid of a mag already that has a bullet or two left, I may have to recock the gun in order to go move on to the next moment. It is definitely one of those things where it feels realistic. They're definitely going for more realism with it. There's no teleport option, so you're walking around, and it can be a bit. I'll at least say my stomach felt it the first time. Like I got used to it after a little while, but you feel it, and you can see on the screen. I am like I'm trying to reload my weapon, and I am like totally freaking out, and then I die. Like
You didn't look like you were freaking out though. You looked pretty calm and collected.
I may have looked calm and collected, but like I'm pretty sure I'm actually yelling in VR, like I'm dead. But this is which, by the way, the video footage we were watching, we are in this like weird complex map, but we are playing again a zombie mode, which they look more like. It looks more like we're fighting a bunch of albinos. because it's just these white characters, these like pale, deathly white characters that are just trying to kill you. And it's funny because they're in all these different, like one of them looks like they came from the gym because they're wearing the classic yoga girl outfit, and then you've got dude that looks like he came from The Office. If it shows it, if it gets to it, there's actually a moment where you see a guy like straight up Naruto running at you. Like he's got his arms behind him just running. Like we were dying laughing at these moments. Uh but it's one thing I'll definitely say about Pavlov, it is crisp. Like playing it in VR, and that's really just a thing about PlayStation VR 2.
You're enamored by your own footage.
There's just a thing
what
about
is happening.
Yeah. Just the thing about PlayStation VR 2 is just the fact that it's just so clean playing, like having the 90 hertz refresh rate is just fantastic. Everything looks really nice because it's got the 4K per eye and everything like that. Like it's just nice. It's the cleanest way that you will play VR right now, and it works really, really well with all. There's so many of these games that are just really the definitive versions on PlayStation VR 2 because of the hardware that's behind it. And I'm watching because I really want to see bro Naruto run at us because it's hilarious whenever it happens.
Close?
Well, it happens multiple times.
Oh, okay.
Like it's not a single occurrence. This happens quite a few times because the zombie does repeat. There are some repeating models. So as the Call of Duty player I am, we were running around maps and stuff, and honestly, the zombie mode very challenging if you're on the ground. Even if you find a good high ground position, it gets to a point where it's almost unbearable. I found accidentally backed into.
I see it. I saw it. It's dark, but I saw it.
Yeah, I accidentally backed into some pallets and ended up finding out that we could kind of glitch walk up the pallets. And so we had there's a point where you see all three of us standing on the back of this one set of pallets up against the wall, and we cannot be touched because David found a glitch spot. And like they're occasionally touching us and hitting us, but like, you know, you've got the zombies can only run to one area. so we're just kind of shooting at those areas as soon as they come up at us, and it's just funny. Yes, every time you see like my fingers up against the headset, it's because I'm adjusting the headset.
I thought it was maybe because you were coughing and you had to
yeah. But it is like, it's just fun to play. We actually did play a couple of games of like search and destroy with humans, and we got wiped by the other real players. People are serious in that game. I did get a snipe on somebody, and I felt really, really good about that. Like, one of the coolest things when you look through a sniper scope, you actually have to pull the gun up to your eye to see, like, you can, like, if you're holding it out, like, you can actually see the magnification of the scope. So you have to pull it. If you're going to get a good shot, you have to pull it up to your eye. You also can't, like, dual wield, like, P90s. If you're picking these things up, the recoil just jumps as you're shooting them. The game is weighted with physics, so you have to get another hand underneath it so that you're actually able to accurately shoot back. Yeah, I was constantly dropping things too. Because all it takes, you accidentally hit one button and you just drop your grip with things. And like it was very easy to freak out over some of that. Because there's a point where I drop the only gun I have, and I'm just sitting there on the crate just slapping at the zombies as they come up. Like, that's probably the best thing about this game, is playing it in VR with friends, because it was myself, Ron, and Richard Allen. And so we're just yelling and screaming and stuff like that and shooting and like once I got the Uzi, I was doing pretty good, but like these things just come at you. It's funny. It's funny.
Oh man.
It's just
It looks fun.
it's just one of those things of you have to play this. You have to try VR to get it. Like and that's PlayStation VR really, and that's VR in general. Uh, if you aren't messing or if you aren't actually experiencing this, it's really hard to watch a video and just be like, "Oh, I want to have fun playing around with this." Like it's just not something that comes naturally. You just have to play it, and then you get it, you have fun with it. You're able to enjoy yourself. Uh it, it's a big expense for a
There
piece
he
of
goes.
equipment. $600. Yeah. $600 is a whole lot. 550, whatever you want to call it, is a lot to pay for PlayStation VR, but it's the best VR that you can really get that's on the market right now. And technically, when you include the cost of what a PC, what it would cost to actually get yourself a good VR rig and have the headset, like you're getting out actually decently cheap. It's just good VR is expensive. Trust me, I've played the original PlayStation VR. I know using those. Oh, I lost my gun right there, and was freaking out because I dropped it under the stairs. And I'm like, oh, thank God, it's right here. Oh, so something
over.
Yeah.
something in Pavlov that's funny is to crouch, you actually have to crouch. Like it's
Yeah,
not
you
a
look
button,
like-
it's not a button press.
look
Like
a little
you have to
awkward,
crouch.
Barry.
Like I watched a
Dude.
really funny video of somebody playing this, and they were with their buddies and they just all like laid down on the ground so that they could like go prone. And then somebody came around the corner and just smoked all of them. It was funny. But yeah, so we're actually like trying to tactically call out and stuff like that when we're playing in these moments. As soon as we find the glitch spot, we just stop. Like we're just we because we're all in the same spot shooting at these zombies, and it's funny. What's funny, more funny, is we actually got to a point in the second map that we played, which was on hospital. It's actually a part of the footage towards the end. I immediately in the room found another glitch spot. Once again, the Call of Duty player, as you see, we are standing up on these boxes in a corner because I found out that I could use the back of there was the back of a chair you could push into and it would just pop you up. And so once again, resident Call of Duty player looking for glitch spots, headies, all that kind of stuff. It was actually to the point we exploited this so badly that the zombies they try to drop down from the ceiling to get you. They would actually just stay above us in the ceiling, so one of us would have to jump down and run over towards the hole where they drop out of the ceiling so that they would follow over.
Yeah.
Because we had it glitched out so badly. But we get to the end of this, we're just being stupid, like we're punching the zombies, we're laughing, it's just fun to do. As a team, as a squad.
Teabagging the.
No, I was
the
trying
zombie
to
right
get
now?
the pills that were in the corner because
okay.
you have health, and I had dropped them on accident.
Sounds like real life.
Yeah, that's the
This
thing is it's like you play this game and there are like these things that you don't like. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Like that doesn't happen very often when you're playing a regular game of
Yeah.
it. But man, you start playing it in VR, and there are real things that get messed up. I think this is where I was trying to figure out how to get back up there because I did it on accident the first time.
So,
Oh man.
are there different like objectives in each level, or is it just kind of
Well,
like a survive?
It's a survive thing in this. They do have actually a lot of modes, not just a lot of modes, but a lot of guns when you're playing the game. It really is like Counter-Strike. Like you've actually got a search and destroy mode. I believe there's a capture the flag mode. You've got a regular team deathmatch, like all kinds of just cool things that you can do. So there's it's not just kill zombies in VR. You can actually do full 6v6 play or 5v5 play against another team. And this is where you see me accidentally figure out the glitch spot again. So, and I'm right now, right at this point, I'm screaming at Ron. I'm like, "Hey, I figured it out, guys!"
Get over here.
I actually told him like, "Get over here. We can do this." And Ron's over there saying he's like, "Well, that's getting patched." Because
Yeah,
I
seriously.
found the spot.
Yeah, that's
A little broken there.
Yeah, but like I said, that like whether you're listening through audio, whether you're watching through video, it's not enough to simply watch or listen to what I'm saying. Like you have to just play PlayStation VR 2, and it's worth it. It really is worth it. Like it's just a lot of fun to mess around in VR at this level of fidelity. Like that's the thing, is we're still, it's still in its infancy, VR is. And when you play things like that, it's like, okay, this is where we get when VR hardware is finally starting to hit its stride. Like when it's finally starting to achieve those heights. And I hope Sony sells a lot of these, because I really want to see where this kind of experience can go as we continue on. And then that's where I accidentally dropped my Uzi.
like, oh, sorry.
Said,
Hold on.
and then I did it again. like I said, things that do not happen when you're playing a regular shooter game that happen when you're playing in VR, because it's these almost real life problems that you end up having because you, oh no, I pressed the grip button and I let go. Yeah,
That's funny.
it's just fun. It's just a lot of fun to just mess around and do stupid dances and all kinds of stuff when you're in VR with your friends.
It's better than VR chat. There you go.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, that is Pavlov VR, PlayStation VR 2.
Which we did give a 90 out of 100 in our review that is on
really?
right now. Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. Wouldn't expect you with all the glitch talk that high of a score, but
it's a Todd Howard glitch.
It's
Yeah.
It's a Todd Howard glitch.
Fun glitches,
fun glitches are different.
Times. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the games we got. So we don't have much news. So we figured might as well try some stuff in this podcast. So we got a few games to play. So one of them is called Fake Questions, Real Answers. So we got a list of questions here that our listeners have given us. Totally fake, but you know what? Good questions that we got real answers for. So
Immersion.
First one, written by David. No.
It's from Greg in Grand Rapids.
Yeah. Says, hey guys, the Nintendo Online service got 4 new games: Kirby's Dream Land 2, Xevious, Burger Time, and Side Pocket. What other games do you want on the service? Platform doesn't matter.
These have to be specific platform of Nintendo, or?
So they recently got Game Boy. They added the N64 and they added so it was Game Boy and Game Boy Advance that they recently added. The expansion pack is N64. Game Boy, I think, just goes on Nintendo Switch Online, and then the Game Boy Advance is part of the expansion pack also. So all of those games fit on different platforms. I think Burger Time is Super NES. Xevious is NES, I think. Pocket Time is Game Boy. No, Kirby's Dream Land 2 is Game Boy. And then I don't know what Pocket Time is. Not Pocket Time, Side Pocket, excuse me. I don't know what platform that would take on Nintendo Switch Online. But I feel like N64 probably has most of the games I would spend my time with. It's got F-Zero X, it's got Star Fox 64. I think it has Mario 64. I think it's got Ocarina of Time, which, I mean, there's 5 billion releases of that. I don't know what else I can think of off the top of my head. Maybe Harvest Moon 64, but
I have an
okay.
easy one for me.
Oh.
growing up the baseball boy, I like instantly popped in my mind. I don't think it's on there because I haven't heard it. But it was on the SNES. Being a baseball kid, King Griffey Jr.'s Major League
Oh,
Baseball. I played so much of that, and I would love it brought up to Switch. It was great because it was during the uh, Royd era of games when you had like
yep.
Sammy McGuire and stuff, and so it always cracked like looking back on it, you get all of like the little inside jokes that they put in, the little baseball references they put in because normally like second basemen are very small, tiny. So like every second baseman on the team was like little chicken leg boy, like super skinny guy. And then you would have like your first basemen who are your power hitters. They were just you could see the veins from all the roids that they were so big on the screen. So it was just a ton of fun, and that's what I grew up on. So that's easy pick for me.
I guess for me, I don't know that. I'm assuming they're probably including some Game Boy Color in there. So Harvest Moon 3, for the Game Boy
Oh
Color.
yeah,
That's the Harvest
yeah.
Harvest. That was the. It wasn't actually Harvest Moon 3, is what they called it. It was just Harvest Moon Game Boy Color. But besides that, I know it's licensed, but Batman the video game on the original Game Boy was awesome. I really
I
enjoyed
think it
that
was.
licensed
Yeah,
game, and I would love to be able to play that on the. I would love to be able to play that on the Nintendo online service.
I did think of one more for the N64. I don't think it's on there, but I remember when it came out. I just loved the title because it was one of the first to be weird. Because everything was 64, but then there was a fighting game called Clay Fighter 63 and a third. First of all, I loved Clay Fighter. It was just such a goofy fighting game. And so when they came out with 63 and a third, I was like, this is brilliant. This is such a good title. I want to play it. It was actually a pretty good fighting game. It was decent. So it kept Clay Fighter going. Obviously, Clay Fighter, the franchise, didn't stick around, but it was fun. And yeah, I love it when you take the opportunity to riff on something and make it goofy. That was one of them. I'd like to see
Oh,
that again.
we need Pokemon Gold and Silver as well. Like that's just
Is
a.
that not on there?
I don't think so.
I guess
I don't know
not.
that any of the. I don't know that any of the Pokemon games are actually on there.
Yeah, I guess
No,
not.
like the online service. Um, is Diddy Kong Racing on there? Oh,
I think so.
oh, okay.
I think it
If they would
is.
just
Oh,
if they would just have
love.
GameCube, I'd have a wish list out the wazoo because there's a lot of
Yeah.
Game Boy. There's a lot of GameCube games I would love to see on there.
Yep.
So
But I think they're working on remastering those. So
yeah, well, I mean, if they want to remaster Star Fox Assault, I will gladly buy it. So
you like that?
yeah, I played it in a Kmart on one of the machines and really just enjoyed myself. So
Okay,
I'm
that's
sure
fair.
it's one of
I
those
get
things
it.
of I'm fondly remembering it as a child, as a
Yeah.
younger,
Those
as a
goggles.
teenager.
Those
Yeah,
goggles.
but so I'd probably hate it now, like going back. But no, it's just a game that I never got to own, and I would love to play it. Like
Okay,
I
that's fair.
didn't get to enjoy a lot of the Star Fox. I didn't grow up with a lot of the. I didn't grow up with any Star Foxes, so
Oh man.
yeah, we
Yeah,
didn't have
Star
a lot
Fox
of
64. Instant classic.
yeah, the only game system that I had like at home was my Game Boy, my original Game Boy, and eventually a Game Boy Color. So because we didn't have a TV in our house, so
Yeah.
I had to play video. My NES was at my grandma's.
All right. Yeah, I hear that, but those were two good handhelds to own, that's for sure.
Oh yeah,
Lots of games on those. All right. Here's the next one. Hi guys, love the podcast. PlayStation Plus added Ghostwire Tokyo and Uncharted Legacy of Thieves. Appreciate it. Obviously those games to PlayStation Plus, but what would make you guys buy into PlayStation Premium if you haven't already? What games?
I mean, honestly, Premium's already a really good deal with some of the stuff that's hitting. Like Tchia, for instance, is a premium game. They also recently announced that Meet Your Maker. I don't know exactly
I forgot about that. Yeah.
what that game is, how to describe that game, to be honest with you, but that one they just announced that that's coming in April. Um, it's another service. I don't feel like it needs day one games, but like there's some smaller games that I would love to see on it. Let me think. I might have to think about it. What about you, Noah? Like there's got to be something.
I'm the guy that's like, oh, this is day one games. Like you put a day one, and that's easy. Like that's all you have to do.
Okay.
They never will, but it still let me buy into it. Which apparently, Immortals: Phoenix Rising is coming in March later this April month.
I think it
Or did it
actually
already
hits
hit?
I think it actually hits Tuesday.
Yeah, that's a game that is worth it. Like I adored that game, and it's one I definitely was like, oh, should I upgrade for one game? I think Immortals this month is definitely worth it.
You do get a
Um,
lot out of Immortals.
A lot of gameplay out of that game.
the only PlayStation console I've owned is the PlayStation 4. So pretty much I am that person. I would want as much backwards compatibility as possible so I could just play pretty much anything that I missed out on. So that would be my way to get in. I would pay
Yep.
PlayStation Plus Premium so I could play
And
whatever I wanted in the past that I missed out on.
and they're getting there. Like it's not perfect, obviously, at all, but like the fact that we're seeing them strive with some of these, like we're starting to get some of these classic games that are including like features like rewind like there's trophies that they're adding, like for instance Siphon Filter and some of these different older games. It is cool to see them go back and they may not be getting like a remaster or anything like that, but it is nice to see them get support with some of the stuff that they're bringing. So, I mean, I actually do have. It's not a specific game that I want. I want PS3 full on download. Like it's only
Oh,
streaming.
yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That to me, like I already pay for the service because I'm subscribed to. I usually buy when it's on sale. So
Sure, yeah.
I'm the smart guy who just goes ahead and adds a year when I can get an extra cheap. But I really like that. That would be something that would be that would take it to the next level. It's being able to download PS3 games. You already can PS4. Funny enough, you can download all the classics, but you can't download PS3.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I know that there definitely has to be a technical hang up somewhere, and a lot of it's because the PS3's design was so different internally compared to everything else. It caused issues for developers for quite some time. So I'm assuming that's the hang up, but I'd love for them to find a way around it. And if some rumors are to be believed, there already have. They're just trying to I'm assuming they're just trying to figure out how to monetize it the best way. But this would be a good way to monetize it.
Agreed. All right. Here's another one. Hello. Neil Druckmann said the decision has been made on what the next next Naughty Dog game is. Sorry, I read this wrong. What the next game Naughty Dog is creating. But what do you hope the next game will be from Naughty Dog?
I'll let you hit this, Noah.
So the next game from Naughty Dog, I know. I think they said they moved on. I could be wrong, but I would like a new Uncharted. Like I will never get enough of the Uncharted titles.
They're phenomenal.
Or I don't want a Last of Us Part 3, but I would like another title in that universe.
Spin-off.
Like different city or something. Because I think there's so much in that world that they could work with. And I don't know if you guys watched the show, but I want Neil to bring on Craig Mazin, who is the guy from Chernobyl. He co-did the show with Neil, because those two are peas in a pod. Like hearing them bounce ideas off each other. I would love to have him take a narrative direction in a game. So.
Yeah, I think I want something brand new. I don't want Uncharted. Uncharted's fine. I would be okay with more Uncharted, but they did say they're moving on from it unless, Sony, gets
Puts enough
another
zeros.
developer. You say what?
Puts enough zeros on that check.
That, or they get another developer to make an Uncharted. I'm over The Last of Us. I'm tired of it. At this point, I'm like, I'm far enough away from it where I'm like, great story, mediocre gameplay, did better as a TV show. Should probably just stay as a TV show. Don't need any more of it as a video game. So give me something new. I'm fine with them sticking with like narrative direction. That's fine. But I do want something new. Maybe not something as dark, but
A happy game.
I don't know about like happy. Maybe somewhere in between Uncharted and The Last of Us, but at least tonally. But yeah, I want something new.
Do you want them to do a live service game about the Suicide Squad now?
Yes, actually. Yeah, let's have them do that. Because at least they're gonna have a consistent story, unlike Destiny. So they can hit that, and then no, I'm just joking. I just want to take a dig at Destiny.
Give me
digging itself.
Give me Jak and Daxter. I want Jak and
I'm
Daxter
fine with that.
back. You can even make it a little more which they were already kind of making it a bit more gritty when like Jak 2 came out and everybody's like, what the heck happened in this video?
David, what's Gears of War, Jak and Daxter?
I mean, so have either of you played the Jak and Daxter video games?
I've only seen him in action. I haven't played it.
I
the
played
first,
so long I forgot about it.
The first one is a lot more in similarity to like Crash Bandicoot, but obviously in more of an open or a more open setting, and it's a more linear. But then you get to Jak 2 and my word, like it become like you're shooting guns, like it's an open world, like there's all this like dark gritty kind of it's more edgy and stuff. So and then they get to the third one and it still kind of retains that, but you get a lot more the story. And then everybody always wanted to know what would happen in a Jak 4. So I don't know that you even need to do Jak 4. Maybe you just make a new game in that universe. I would just love to see, or just do. I don't want a reboot, but I don't know that I want a 4. Like maybe God of War it. like I mean, it worked really. It worked. I mean, it worked. He already had one, bro. Yeah, he had his goatee. Yeah, bald. But I mean, you could find a way to like do what they did, like retain what made the games great, but like it's all going to be one shot. It's all going to be one shot. Right, yeah. One continuous shot. Jak is taking his girlfriend's ashes up to the mountain with Daxter. I don't know. I'm joking around. Beyond that, I really need the Carts of Us, because Naughty Dog is known for making several video games in a series and then making a kart racer. So we need our Last of Us kart racing game.
Uncarted.
Yeah. I made that joke a long time ago. Uncarted. Like I still want uncarted, but I'll take the Carts of Us. So like
maybe mash them together.
Send me my royalty check, Neil. But no, Jak and Daxter, like that is one of my favorite games from that time frame of PS2, and I would love to see it. I'd love to see it come back.
Okay. All right. We got one more. Dear Gaming Trend Podcast, it's rumored that Forspoken had a $100 million budget. How does it turn out as bad as it did with that kind of budget?
The only reason the budget was that high is because the game kept getting delayed and they kept having to pay people. That is exactly how you get to that point.
You gotta pay ya.
You have a good idea, and then it drags out, and then the producer sits down and plays the latest great game and says, I bet we can stick that in here And so then they start hiring somebody else to work on something, or they start using manpower that should be doing this and is doing that. That's how you get up to that kind of a budget, is because you're just misusing your resources. And that's more or less, I think, what happened with this one is they misused their resources. Because it's the same team that gave us Final Fantasy 15, and that wasn't a bad game.
No, I agree. That's pretty much what I was going to say. When you delay stuff, that still costs money. You have to pay the people. That's not very much talked about aspect of the industry is you still have to pay these people even though your game hasn't came out. So, and the more you delay it, the more not only do you have to pay the people, but if you bring in more resources or expend more resources, you have to pay for those. And so it's not a fun cycle. That's why I'm kind of curious to see the bottom line for Skull and Bones.
I think the bottom line is they're sinking the ship.
But yeah, I pretty much what David said. Delays. That's kind of the main proponent.
Would agree.
That's our answer, Jill from Palm Springs.
Yeah. Palm Springs. Had to bring it to the West Coast. All right, David, you got a game for us.
Yeah. This is kind of fun. So I am a very big Green Bay Packers fan. I actually have a piece of stock for the team. So I've been following.
There you go.
So I've been following this whole Aaron Rodgers thing. Funny enough, I have to at least say this. I thought we should have never re-signed him last year. I thought we should have either traded him or just let his contract, or whichever one it was. I can't remember what it was. I thought we should have started over last year. That was actually my call, and turns out it looks like it was kind of the right call considering we missed the playoffs. Okay. I think Jordan Love could have done 8-8, but that is neither here nor there.
There you go, David putting in his pitch again. trying to get that executive position.
Aaron Rodgers finally addressed all of the media speculation and things that they were saying incorrectly that he was talking about, and all these different things in all these negotiations of where he's playing this next year. And one of the things that he brought up is that Adam Schefter, who is a NFL insider, he's on, I believe is he NFL Network or is he ESPN? I can't remember which one.
Yeah,
but he's always breaking the big NFL stories and whatnot. He is not part of Aaron's inner circle, and he never will be, because he finally got Aaron's number, sent him a text, started bugging him, trying to figure out what was going on, to which Aaron Rodgers texted him back and said, "Lose my number. Good try, though." That's the only answer that he gave to this guy. So, our game, after that long bit of exposition, is there a game, a specific game? Is there a game mechanic? Is there a hot take in gaming? Is there just something gaming oriented, gaming related, that if you were presented with it, it was bugging you, it was at your door, it was texting you, you'd send back and say, "Lose my number. Good try, though." That you're done. That's where you're at with it. Where are y'all guys at?
All right.
You want to go first?
Okay, I'll go first. All right. I'm texting "lose my number. Good try, though" to weapon durability.
I knew it.
Lose my
Set him up.
number. Lose it. God.
I'm glad you got that beep placed well.
I hate weapon durability. It adds nothing useful to the game. It does not make the game more fun. It adds unnecessary challenge. It's not like a game that has it.
It's padding.
There's a lot of breath in there. Sorry. Sorry, it was very wild right there. Sorry, but
got him.
It doesn't make it any harder to complete that game, to do the the combat and all that and everything else you have to think of. You got to think about the weather. You got to think about all these other, are you wearing a metal shield while there's a lightning storm, and the combat is like, there's so many other things to think about. Having to re-equip the same weapon that just broke after 6 hits is stupid. It doesn't matter if there are other weapons that last longer. They break. They don't need to break. The Master Sword breaks, for crying out loud. Like, it lasts for a long time. I get that, but it breaks. How does the... Never mind. You understand where I'm getting at. It's pointless. It doesn't need to be in Tears of the Kingdom. It doesn't need to be in any other game, period. And it's especially annoying with Breath of the Wild because of how hard it, not how hard, but how annoying it is to have to go into your inventory, which pauses the game, and then you got to equip the thing and then get out the pause menu and then continue combat. It just tears up the flow. It messes up the flow. So, weapon durability, lose my number. Good try, though.
Oh, I guess I'm next.
Yeah.
So you can lose my number if you think, this goes back to my days at retail at GameStop. If you think that a game's length in hours equates to the quality of a game,
Yes.
please
Yes.
just
Oh.
go outside. The amount of people who I would, come in and they're like, I'd recommend like, hey, you should play this game. I'm like, oh, how many hours is it? I'm like, what's it matter? Like, well, how many? I was like, it's a good like 10 to 15 hour like weekend experience. Like, no thanks. I'd rather go play Red Dead for 100 hours, and just fill time. It's like, a game, would you rather, and I would tell them, like, would you rather have a 15 to 20 hour phenomenal experience or 120 hours of filler where you're just running around killing time, basically, and that just grinding my gears. People thinking that just because it's a 15, 25 hour, game, that it was not good. Get it out of here.
I've seen people online equate a 1 hour basically to $1. So for every, they'll, if a game is below 60 hours, then it's not worth their time.
Yeah, they won't touch it.
Basically per hour, like that's how they calculate that. And that's, wow, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If like, let's say I spent $5 on a ticket to this movie, but I could spend $15 on a ticket to that movie, and this movie for $5 sucks, but the movie I spent $15 on was phenomenal. What did I like? Yes, I spent less, but I also felt like I wasted my time.
Yeah,
so it's the same idea. It's the same idea. It doesn't matter if I get a bunch of hours if half of those hours are spent doing mindless tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's your thing, you do you. But amount of time.
It's a weird way to think about it. Like, it's fine if you want to get lost in a 100-hour game. Red Dead Redemption, Destiny. Whatever the case may be. That's fine. Because especially if you only buy, you only got $60 for the year. Like whatever the case may be. That's the one game you're gonna get. You want it to last as long as possible. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But don't equate it to, what Noah talked about. That's
the level of quality of a game.
Yeah.
Well, that's like Dead Island 2. I'm super psyched that they're saying that it's going to be more around the 20-hour mark with how much time you're going to put into it. Yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit more than that when you go and do your collecting and all that different stuff of some of these things that are in the world that are in every game that is even semi-open world. But, it's kind of refreshing to not have the Dying Light 2, it's 500 hours long pitch. Like, I'm the one who reviewed that game, and, I mean, I finished the main story and put about 20 hours in, so is it 500 hours long? I'm sure if I spent that kind of time in it, but let's not act like the actual quality gameplay was 500 straight hours. Thank God, I would have wanted to murder myself reviewing a 500-hour game. You guys getting a review in progress, that's for sure. Did you say you
in progress?
I'll did you say you had another one, Noah?
Oh, I got a couple.
I'll go ahead and go with one of mine next.
Yeah.
You know what? Go ahead and lose my number. Good try though, you console fanboys who are so stupid
Ooh.
toxic on Twitter. I am so tired
Whoa.
of every time someone just barely scuffs at your plastic box that I got to hear about why the other plastic box sucks so bad. We all, yes. Do we have preferences? Yes. Have I occasionally made a joke about Xbox's boneheaded decisions? Yes, but I equally am annoyed when PlayStation makes boneheaded decisions, and I call it out because I have a little thing called integrity.
But you also don't stand for
I love my
Xbox
PlayStation.
makes a boneheaded decision. You're not going to be like, that wasn't a boneheaded decision. That was,
oh no,
here's why it was brilliant.
Yeah, but I see so many of these things, of these people going on their clout chasing and all that kind of stuff and whatnot, and some of the stupidest accounts. How do you even believe what you're saying? That is where I'm, and I know some of it is just you're typing something up because you want to get the clicks. But boy, it ain't it. Like, it's just stupidity, and it makes you look like a child. Because that's what you are. Because you know what? We all should be just talking about how there's so many awesome games that we can all enjoy. I'm going to be playing the heck out of Starfield on my Xbox. I cannot wait for that. Just like I'm going to play the crap out of Spider-Man 2 on my PlayStation 5. Like I'm going to be playing the heck out of Call of Duty on my PC this year. Like, we have... You're the one who spent the money on the box. They didn't hand deliver it to your door, give you a pat on the butt and say enjoy. Like, why are you standing for this? Like, this product that you the one who spent all this money on.
Because they want to make sure they feel good about it.
I feel like, Anthony, you should have put David's Twitter handle like right above his head. Like
he can do that in post. He can do that in post. Go ahead and at me. Go ahead and at me.
Roll it up.
I ain't even gonna. I ain't even gonna say don't at me, because it just there's these things that people say, and it just like Noah with grinds my gears. That is exactly what it is, because you sit there and you're like, why? That's really like there's somebody who actually says like getting rid of toxicity, but then they have toxicity on Twitter, but then respond to somebody with a Sony fanboys are the worst and we must eliminate them kind of thing. It's like you say that you don't want toxicity on Twitter in your bio, yet here you are providing it. There was a guy who did a tweet about why Starfield, what is going to be the biggest game this year, and it like had Starfield. It was last year's like Starfield, all these different things, and a bunch of people were voting for like God of War. He deleted the poll like 3 times because Starfield wasn't winning. Like, come on! Like,
I want to know how that tweet ended up in your feed 3 times because he deleted it and reposted it.
I have some friends who, for some reason, think it's funny to go into Twitter Spaces. So I'm assuming that those friends looking at those tweets and hitting things are the reason I see this stupidity.
Sometimes it is entertaining.
But sometimes I just look at them like, oh my gosh, why?
I get
people arguing, people mad about like a couple of frames. Like, there's somebody who's like, there's a bunch of Xbox fans who are mad because the Resident Evil is like 3 frames better. Yeah. And they're like, I'm sick of seeing the Xbox Series X version of the game sabotaged. Yeah, because I'm sure Capcom up there like, okay, PlayStation gave us like, you know, they gave us $1,000 for each frame we lowered on the on the Xbox version, and they're like, it's coming to a point. Just buy all the good third party. This is literally, I'm reading the tweet. Just buy all the good third party publishers, Microsoft. Maybe exclusives are the only way forward for reasonable performance on Xbox.
What?
I'm not joking.
Okay. All right.
Just
Yes,
lose
people
my
do that a lot.
number. Lose my number. Good try
Hey,
though.
I like competition. I don't like the console wars. That's too much.
That's
I
where it
do
goes
like
bad.
I do like the competition, like from a business perspective,
Yeah.
who's doing what, who's making good decisions, who's making bad decisions, are the decisions good or bad? But they take it way too far, and then they use logic that's not even it doesn't they don't use logic actually. Excuse me.
No.
They don't use logic. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, they take it way too far. I can say I used to engage in that when I was in middle school, a little bit of high school, but it wasn't to that degree. But also I only had one console, so if people were saying, "Oh, X Games," it's like, wait a minute, hold up, no, I play this thing, I own this thing, no, it's pretty dang good. Like you ain't even played it. So I get it. You get a little territorial. You purchased it, so you feel like you got a stake in the thing, and you do want to feel good about your purchase. You don't want to, realize, oh shoot, I purchased the wrong thing. So, but nah, it's a little too far with Twitter. I got one more. I do got
All
one
right.
more.
Go ahead.
That
Go ahead.
it could lose my number. So I would say lose my number. Good try though. To fetch quests. Oh, I can't stand fetch quests. That's why I asked about it for Tchia, because that is the reason why I never finished Wind Waker. Fetch quests, couldn't do it. Once we got to the Triforce fetch quest and you just riding over all the water and just trying to find the thing, this is the most boring thing they did in that game. And I tried to finish it the first time it came out, couldn't do it. When the remaster came out for the Wii U, I tried again. I really tried. I was like, this is so boring. And it feels so unnecessary that y'all can make this any more interesting. Pure, unadulterated. Just go get thing. Go get thing. Go get thing. Oh my God. That will bump me off a game. Nothing will bump me off a game faster than that kind of fetch quest. Nothing. So, with that said,
What else do you got, Noah? What else? What else
yes.
are you telling it to lose your number?
Let's see. I got a couple more. I'll start with like.
Your volume's
I got
really
I got
low.
one. I got one more.
Oh. Sorry.
Your volume's still kind of low. I don't know what happened.
I didn't do anything.
I know. No.
I muted my mic
there
to
we go.
take
There
a
we go.
drink.
Oh, you're suddenly
There you
loud
go.
now.
Oh, I just got to yell apparently. I was like, I muted myself to take a drink. What happened? So this is kind of a small jab at a certain host of a certain podcast. But people who think that Uncharted is a better game than Tomb Raider lose my number. And I don't know if they remember this, but we used to have he is the big Uncharted boy, and I'm the big Tomb Raider boy. And so there was always this friendly competition, which people seem to not be able to have anymore, about which was the better game. So I just threw that in there as a fun little joke. But in all seriousness, though, modern day ranked system matchmakers, boy, can I rant about that for a bit. So we've talked about it previously, I believe it, at least Anthony and I have, about my hatred of Overwatch 2's matchmaker for its ranked system, and COD has a pretty similar one, but I do not like it when it's mostly just in Noah doesn't like stuff take. I don't like it when you have me ranked at an invisible number that I cannot see and I do not know that the game thinks that I am at. And you are matching me with other people who may or may not be in my rank.
Amen.
So
Preach.
and you're like, well, that's great, but we're giving you this visible number that represents
Your potential.
your potential, or it may not even be your accurate rank. Your MMR may be different than your actual rank. But you know what we're going to do after each season, which is like what, 2 months now for Overwatch, 3 months. We're going to decay it to where you started the previous season at, so that way you work back up to where you ended the season at. So you're just knocking me down the ladder to make me ascend back up to where I ended the previous season at.
But bro, it's so that you can feel good.
Yeah, you can feel
about your
yourself climbing the ladder.
progress.
If I'm climbing a ladder to the roof and I go up a rung and then back down and I just do that all day, is that fun? No. Like, and I get you will plateau. Like any person will plateau in a rank system, but like if I am in, we'll just say gold 5 or whatever, you can't tell me that like Call of Duty's player pool or that Overwatch's player pool. You know, if I'm in gold 5, I should not be playing diamond players. I don't care if they're queued with gold. That shouldn't be a thing. If I'm in like plat, low plat, you know, that's fine. But yeah, if I'm in gold, about to hit plat, that's fine. But do not put me with diamond players. I'm not there yet. Don't give me the excuse of like, oh, but if you beat them, you'll jump up more. No, that's not why you're playing. It's not an even playing field at that point.
Because 90% of the time, your team does not have a diamond player.
No. It's, diamond or golds and then a couple silvers, and then you'll have the games where David and I've witnessed it firsthand in Call of Duty, where you're like, this person's like bronze 2. Okay, why did they roll us? So because we lost to someone at a lower rank than us, we lose more SR.
And Smurfs.
Because that matchmakers will rustle my jimmies, dude.
A similar problem I had with Knockout City. I played the first 2 seasons. Now that's 3v3, so matchmaking is a little bit tougher, but solo queue, I made it all the way to Emerald rank, which is the second to the last highest rank. So I was very good at that game, and I could have made it. I think Diamond was the highest, but I could not get there, at least solo queue, because the matches that I were in, I would go up against a full stack of Emerald players, and I would be matched up with another Emerald player who would be playing with like a bronze, silver, or platinum, or gold, or, like something else that they weren't ready for that level of competition. And I was like, I can't play this anymore. Like, I can't play ranked at this point because I keep getting matched against full stacks as a solo queue player. And it puts me with other people who are not queued up with a full party of emeralds. So, the rare time where I would get matched with other emeralds, we won. So it was like, great. Yeah. Put me with some good people. Like, I'm good, but I can't carry a bronze player. Sorry. Like, they're just an open target.
And I get the philosophy of like, we want to reduce queue times. I get it,
Yes.
But it's wrong. I will wait in a longer queue if it means my matches are more balanced and accurate to what they should be. But yeah, also solo queuing and full stacking should never match up in any rank playlist.
Yes.
Unless it is like a last resort, like, hey, there's no matches left. Like,
yes.
So
many times I'd be solo queue and I'd get matched with a 5 stack, and I'm like, why do I have to be the fill?
Yeah, because it's just over at that point.
I'm like, they got the 6 stack, and I'm the guy who has to jump into voice chat and chat with all these 5 other. Okay, whatever.
Occasionally, myself and my brother will think about playing ranked together. It usually ends up being, okay, let's just go play Warzone, because at least there, we have a chance.
Yeah,
compared to ranked. Like, I don't want to lose rank because I'm the one who's doing duo.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like in Overwatch, you could do duo queue and be okay because there's roles,
Yeah.
so that could kind of work itself out a little bit. But yeah, a game like Call of Duty, or but yeah, solo queuing just generally, I'm just like, okay, yeah, this isn't gonna work anymore.
Especially with
Yeah.
like how hard it is to carry a team in the gaming atmosphere now. Like Overwatch, really hard to solo carry a team up to a certain level, obviously.
Yeah,
COD, same way. Um, like if you take, I've always been a big, believer of you take a stack, whether it be 3, 5, 6, doesn't really matter, and you face them against all solos who don't play together. It doesn't matter how, there's a certain threshold. It's a very high threshold of where no matter how much better the solo queue players may be, they will still lose to the team that is coordinated and played together and talked.
yeah,
So
There's a
it's
reason
just,
we honestly in COD we beat people well above our skill level just because we're smarter. Like we're able to work together better.
well,
and
yeah, you work
communicate.
together. Yeah,
So that's why I think they should be in, like I said, I don't like, or I know why developers don't like diluting the pool,
yeah,
but in a ranked, if you want it to be taken seriously, you know, as serious as a video game can be taken, I guess.
right,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, there are sacrifices that must be made, and I'll gladly take a longer queue time.
If you
Yep.
consider yourself a competitive game, which the case of Overwatch it does, then you make ranked as competitive as possible.
And even,
Fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's not gonna be fair all the time. I get it, but
Yep.
you know,
Only so many people are queuing at a time, so there's only
yeah,
so well it can work. But your system should at least support better
yep.
around that.
Design
Especially
it as
because
such.
right now, like for instance, COD ranked is like the game mode right now. Like it is like people are watching that more than they're watching Warzone on Twitch right now. That's how big ranked is.
Yeah.
So that's you gotta invest in that system and make it even more fair.
All right.
I've got one more
Oh, okay.
for me. One good old last one here
I'll have another one real quick once you're done.
because
But
it's about more discourse. And it is that a game ranking a 70 on Metacritic
Mm,
is automatically an awful game.
no.
You can forget my number. Good try though, because my word, I like the game back on PS3. I liked Haze, and that game sucks according to Metacritic. Like everyone hated it. There are so many games out there. Reviews are objective or are from the person,
Subjective. Yeah.
the subjective to who is reviewing it. And I'm sorry, even if you get 150, 200 reviewers somehow reviewing a game, it is still subjective. You still can like a game that everybody else doesn't like. Days Gone is one for me, like that I personally reviewed. I didn't review it for a site that was accredited with Metacritic, but I really enjoyed the game, and I didn't experience nearly the bugs that apparently everyone else experienced. And that was even running on a regular PS4 most of the time instead of a PS4 Pro. Like I had a couple bugs, yeah, but I had a ton of fun playing that game, and pretty sure that game is like a, see here, Days Gone Metacritic. See, it is currently a, honestly, I'm surprised it's a 71. Uh, but according to that, the game is hot doo doo, according to gaming Twitter. That is not the case, gaming Twitter. A 7 out of 10 actually means it's pretty good. That's what technically, and I know the whole thing of like, again, the subjective scores and all this different stuff that is with things and whatnot. If it's under 5, it's below average. 5 is average. I get that we have been conditioned to this point to think of 7 as average. 7 is not average. 7 is above average at the worst. So I'm tired of Metacritic being this thing that everybody decides to jump on. Well, the funniest thing is, and this goes back actually to the console fanboy thing, is Metacritic matters when your game is reviewed fantastic, but it doesn't matter when you aren't getting good reviews or when the other guy gets a good Metacritic review. Like it's such a subjective thing with fanboys of things, but in general, Metacritic is there for you to be able to get a good look at what most critics are saying, and it's an easy place for you to go and see a plethora of reviews for a game. It is not the end all be all as to whether or not you personally will like a game. Metacritic is a tool. Make your own darn decisions about video games. Like, come on, think for yourself. Think for yourself. Yes, I may review a video game and you appreciate and you respect my opinion, and my opinion usually lines up with yours. You still got to try it for yourself to know if you're going to like it or not. Because you know what? We are going to disagree on a score at some point. Because I am not going to always review something and you think the same exact way that I do. That's me even saying you might not agree with my review on something.
I'm hoping that by the end of it, we can just have Anthony like just beep out David and kick him from for breaking like the TOS or whatever, like kick him from the.
Put the cat hanging in there.
Yeah, like the BRB technical difficulties. I like David versus Twitter round 2. I think it goes very much in line, with what I think most intellectual people can acknowledge, that people can like stuff that other people don't like, and vice versa. It's not a collective agreement or anything like that.
That's what it's treated like.
It really is. And it's subjective. Like, this person liked this game. Okay, cool. You don't have to. You can, like you said, make your own decisions. It's a good way to kind of judge what a lot of other people are thinking and make your decisions on that if you're having to specifically pick. But I like the 7 out of 10. I think I might have talked to you guys about this like off podcast, but I used to get really confused and not like the 1 to 10 system or the 1 to 100 system, whatever you want to call it, because, mathematically 5 is average between 1 and 10. So when you hear that a game's a 5, theoretically it should be average, but in culture and the industry, it's considered below average, which is very odd until Paul Tassi on Twitter was talking about the topic, and he pointed out something to me that kind of changed my perspective, and it made things click instantly when looking at that. He's like, you can't judge it, off of a 1 to 10, like numerical. Think of it as like grade school, like scoring grades. If you have 90 or above, it's an A, 80 above, B, 70 C, and so forth like that. He's like, that's how I look at it, and it made me change my perspective a lot. So that's the way I look at gaming scores now, and I think that's a good reference point for a lot of people. If you need a good foundation on, is a game good or not? Like, if a game gets a 7 out of 10, that's a pretty good game. It's not gonna shine flying colors, but it's good.
Well, like our own David Flynn got drugged through the mud on Unchained with Echoes, whatever. I don't remember the exact name, because he gave it, I believe it was a 55 or something like that. And it wasn't his game. Just did not enjoy the way that they decided to do things. And he was the outlier, but he was getting drugged because of his opinion on Forspoken was a 90. It's like, people can have their own opinions.
I totally disagree.
Just because you disagree. We were having a discussion in our own Discord about how it's the drag Breath of the Wild channel, because a lot of us do not like Breath of the Wild. While Noah really likes Breath of the Wild. Myself and Anthony, it's just not our thing. I can recognize Breath of the Wild being a great game. That doesn't mean I think it's good.
I disagree with the grade school analogy. I've heard that for years, and I think that's actually part of the problem with how people look at review scores, because once you hit 50, that's an F, and anything below that is an F. So the way I have understood and realized, well, the way websites choose video games, at least the bigger ones, to review is based on popularity, right? What's going to get the clicks? What's going to get the people's attention? Most of those games are anywhere between 10 and 6. That's why the scale pretty much sits in there most of the time, because most of the games that people really want to know about are pretty good. They are actually pretty good. So you're not going to get your 1s, your 2s, and 3s that often, because those games aren't going to get the attention anyway, unless they are absolute ridiculous outliers. And so what it's done subconsciously is people view the 7 as the average game, when in fact 5 is the average. It absolutely is the average. But people always talk about, oh, the whole scale isn't used. Well, if we had time to review every single game that came out, guarantee the whole scale would be used.
Yep.
The difference is you just wouldn't read them. So you wouldn't care about them. You don't care about the 30% Steam games that have released, and most of those are garbage anyway. So the way we look at the scale, a lot of people do view it as the school grade system. And I think that's just faulty, because once you hit 50, technically it's bad. Like, nobody wants to fail according to the school grade system, right? An F, you're not passing. You're not going to go on to the next grade. You need to retake the test. So you get D, 60. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. C's are what gets degrees. So 70 and up, yeah, we're doing all right. So pretty much that leaves out everything below 5. So I think when we do look at the 1 to 10, 1 to 100, or 1 to 100 being like 10, 20, 30, not literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but when we look at a kind of scale like that, when you look at a game that's a 2, no, that's a, like, no, don't even, just don't. just don't. 1s, you don't. But 5s, yes, that should be absolutely middle of the pack, average. But when we see 7s nowadays compared to a lot of other 7s that are popular and reviewed, it feels average. And it feels average relative to other 7s. And so when people see 7, it's like, oh yeah, okay, it's 7. And then it's 6, it's like 5 is like, oh, no way, that's terrible. Doo-doo, as David said in that whatever example he used. So I do think the grade scale system is a little broken in that respect. I think 1UP used to use like A, B, C, and and all that. I think that's useful to some degree, because you can be a little more specific. But honestly, like I honestly think IGN's review scale like is pretty good, because every number has an exact meaning for what it is, and so you know exactly what it is. It's just people don't actually
our gaming trend one.
Yeah. So that helps people have a better okay, what does 5 actually mean? It's mediocre. Yeah, that's what it is. I think R5 means average.
Actually, R5 is mediocre.
Yeah, so there you go.
It in the description is hard to describe as good, but calling it bad would be a little harsh, which is literally the definition of middle of the road.
Yeah.
Which is what that is.
Yeah, so a good review scale like should define what those things are for the people who are reading, which could be a little bit different for everybody else, but I think it gets wonky when you start having like a 20-point scale. That gets a little rough, where you start adding like 0.5s or 5, like kind of the way we do it.
Ours is a 10, but ours is still more. Ours is a 20, but it's still more of a 10.
Yeah, we treat it more like a 10, but it is a 20. But that's where I think things can get wonky. So read what the review scale means. and that's what the reviewer means. So
Yep.
And also read the review.
Yeah.
yeah, that would be helpful.
Like you could reading the full review, you could see what they liked, they didn't like, and why they put that score.
Not to mention, as silly as this is going to sound, like there are sometimes I'll put a 70 on something and it's a really high 70. But then another game I'll put a 70 on it and man, that's a low 70. Like you said, you got to read the review to get the context as to what that 70 means. Sometimes it's man, they punched above their weight this 70. Man, did not reach its potential at all. It's a 70. Like there's an expectation behind it that yeah,
Yeah, it's like
I'll kind of throw in the Lightfall review that I got to partake in on. We gave it a 70 out of 100, but it was because everything else besides the narrative was really, really good.
Yep.
yeah,
The narrative campaign, which brought it down really, really low. So, if somebody looks at it at 70, you're like, oh, well, everything's mediocre. No, there's highs and lows.
And the other fun thing I'll put out there is that almost every reviewer will look back and think about what they wrote before. And there's at least a handful of reviews that you're like, you know what? I probably was a point off. Like you look back at it and you're like, you know what? Looking at this in hindsight, and obviously, you can't get it all right, but reviewers are on tight deadlines. Sometimes you miss something. Like sometimes you just don't hit what you wanted to hit and it doesn't work.
Well,
that's okay.
You also get caught in the moment, you've played it for X amount of hours. You have these feelings that you're having and you don't get to sit back for a little and let it process. And, it's just like, ooh, these are the feelings I'm having right now. It could go either way. And
my age,
kind of get what you get.
Like
age better.
And not to, be that guy. Like obviously I stand behind my 95 for Atomic Heart. I'm probably today, if I thought back on some of the things, probably more of a 90. And that's just having some hindsight on it. I still stand behind my original score, but
you stand by what you said about it.
Yeah. Stand by what I said.
Yeah.
Now that I've had a chance to process it, probably maybe not as much. That's okay.
Yeah. I think I gave my very first paid review was Just Cause 3 for another site. And at the time, like it was a fantastic. I love the ever freaking crap out of Just Cause 3. I think I scored it an 8. Probably looking back, probably 7. There were more technical difficulties that I thought were more of my machine than that game itself. And then I got a stronger machine. It was like, oh no, it was the actual game, right? So you get into those kind of situations. I gave Mighty Number 9 an 8. I'm the highest score for Mighty Number 9. And I thought the difficulty was fantastic. I got a lot of fun out of it. I'm a platforming, action platforming kind of guy. I felt in style. It wasn't Mega Man, and I didn't think it was supposed to be Mega Man. I thought it was supposed to kind of have a feel of it. And I thought it captured the feel of it, and it was difficult, and it made me think, and all that stuff. It was fun, but everybody else, like, oh my god! But then you had some people who were like, "See, that's an honest review." It's just like, nah, man, it's just my opinion. This is what I felt when I played it.
It's that person's opinion. That's what it is.
Yep. I talk about reviews all day. Oh my gosh. All right.
I have one more to throw.
Oh yeah.
I need
you
to
did
get
say
off
that.
my,
I was trying to. I was like, I feel like something was. Okay. Yeah. Go.
I need to just get this off my chest.
Yeah, get off the chest.
So my homie in the Destiny world, not homies, we're friends, but I just really like him and respect him as a creator and gamer. Dado, who many know in the Destiny community, put out a great video about it was his final stake on the topic as being an elitist in Destiny, and I think it expands into the gaming space as a whole. That not everything in a game, especially online game or Could be single player, but mostly online. Not everything should be accessible to everyone. There are certain goals, awards, incentives in games that should not be for everyone. For instance, I'm bringing it up because in the most recent raid race, the new raid for Lightfall, Root of Nightmares, way too easy for a contest mode in-game activity. There were, I believe the number was around 45,000 people beat it over the first 2 days, which is more than I believe he said all of D1 and D2 raids combined. And the people who were saying that the raid was too
by the way,
easy-
let me add context to that. They extended contest mode to 48 hours, where this is the second time that's happened. Previously was 24 hours. That was it.
and even if you took, you did it in half, you cut that number in half, it still is nowhere near the amount of day one clears. And so everyone who was talking about the game being too hard, or the raid being too hard, I should say, the game being too easy, the raid being hard, people attacked content creators and saying like, hey, the game needs to be available to everyone. Everyone should be able to get a day one raid clear. Everyone should get that emblem, that gear, that coveted gear for day one. And it it is in-game aspirational content. Not everyone should be able to get certain things in games, whether it be skill level or time management. In the sense of like, if you can't make it, FOMO, sorry. Like that's, yeah, not everything needs to be available to everyone. So that'll put out a great video on it that I recommend everyone go watch. And it can be put into multiplayer games too. Like, I don't care how good you think you are, if you don't belong in a certain rank, you do not deserve to be in that rank. You should not
Yes.
get that coveted title, the little picture icon beside your gamer tag. Just because you want it doesn't mean that you should have it. So that's my little piece. I need to get that off my chest because I just really appreciated Dado putting that video out.
I agree with that in concept. I don't agree with it all the way though. When it comes to something like Desert, here's why: the raid is a special thing. It's supposed to be done with groups of people and all that. At the end of the day, what is Bungie's objective? And this is where people start to get off on their idea of what's accessible, what shouldn't be accessible. What is Bungie's objective? We need to get their thought on what their objective is. If their objective is we do want more people to be able to complete this day one, everybody else got to shut up. Sorry. That's their objective. You can't disagree with it. Right? I'm sorry. You can disagree with it. You cannot
live with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, you got to live with it. Thank you. So, I when it comes to something like skill or anything like that, I am 100% with the idea like, yeah, if you can't reach it, hey, sorry, hey, you can't play it. Not everybody can play in the NBA. Sorry, that's just kind of how it works. Not everybody can play in the NFL. Not everybody can reach top 500 in Overwatch. Not everybody can reach top 500 in Call of Duty. It's just the way it is. Whether it's your skill, whether it's your intellect, whether it's whatever the case may be, hey, you ain't got it. You ain't got it. But when we're talking about something where it is puzzling, clear, doing that kind of stuff, what was about the raid? Like, you just have to ask the question, what was it about the raid that made it so easy? Was it, and I'm not asking you right now, but I'm having the community look back and go, okay, what was it about this raid that was so easy compared to the last one in the Witch Queen, which was actually fairly difficult. A lot of puzzle solving, a lot of coordination. I think that was one of the best raids there because it had all those elements. It was not an easy raid to finish, but yeah, this one was. And we're equating it to Bungie's trying to allow more people to do day one finishes. Maybe. Or maybe it was just easy and Bungie just didn't land it this time, which is, I don't blame them because it's really hard to make a new raid every year that is just like mentally fatiguing and challenging and a great puzzle and also tells lore elements and, does all these other different things. Like the fact that they've done so many so well, great. It's probably about time they fall flat on their face on a raid. But to say, oh, so many people did it. Okay. Well, maybe that's just a design fault more than Bungie was just trying to make it easy. So, but then I have to ask, why are we salty about that? What's the big deal? Like, do you feel like you're losing your exclusive status or something? Like,
I
don't, that part, I don't like. At some point, I have to question, why do you feel like you have to get this? Like, you complete every raid day one anyway. What's it to you if 10,000 more people do? Like, how do you lose out on that?
I think it's more about, instead of like, if they can get it and earn it, that's cool. I think it's more they felt like, especially in this one, and it can go into the other gaming genres as well, but they felt it was too easy, and they wanted, because we're strongest characters in games for the most part, and they wanted a difficulty to just, like, if I'm going into a day one raid on contest mode, which is supposed to be penultimate difficulty in a game, and this
Very
translates to any other game,
Yeah.
I don't want to be able to just run through it. I want it to beat me into the ground in difficulty, so that when you do beat it, you do get that, hate comment, but the elitism, like, hey, look what I achieved because of the level of difficulty.
Yes, it
and
feels
I feel
good.
like when it's diminished, or if it's not the level that you're accustomed to, I think that plays a big part in it. While other people are happy and they feel like that gap's narrowed in a good way, a lot of people felt it was narrowed in a bad way, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I am just on the side of I like there being things so difficult in games that not everyone is able to, because it gives that specific activity, rank, emblem, whatever you call it, it gives it meaning. If that makes sense.
It ultimately makes you feel good.
Yeah, the elitism.
Yes. I would just say that's not everybody. So extending it to 48 hours was probably the first straw for people, right? So, it gives more people time to finish contest mode day one. And so, like, I get that, but Destiny isn't just people who sit on their computer all day or their console all day playing the game. Like, there are people who grind just as much. Well, maybe not just as much, but they get the gear. They grind what they need to grind in order to do the raid. And then they do it in such a way to where they actually do all the communication and stuff. They just don't have time to do it all within the first 24 hours. Okay. So what? You got to do it in the first 24 hours. Maybe if you got a badge that said first 24 hours, great. Okay. How does that make you feel? Right? Like, at the end of the day, I just don't understand the idea of, okay, more people finished it. I don't like that. Like, wait, what? Like, that's what you're saying. I don't like that more people finished it. Right? There's a marathon, and some people finished it in 2 hours. Some people finished it in 5. They finished it. Okay.
It's not that and I probably can't explain this very poorly, but I'm fine with more people completing it, as long as the difficulty of said activity was the same. Whereas with the most recent raid, I feel like it was lowered to allow more people to complete it in that set time span.
Do we know that's the reason, though?
Bro, did you watch Root? There were 2 people could do the entire encounter.
No, do we know that's the reason why they made it easier? Is so that more people can complete it day one?
I don't think that they necessarily intended to make it easier on purpose. They just kind of did.
Right.
So if you watch any of the raid encounters, 6-man activity in Val, it's felt like for pretty much all activities, at least 4 to 5 players were given a role.
Oh yeah,
3 to 5, yeah. In Root,
I did Vow. It was hard. It was
in Root, you literally 2 people would do the mechanic, and the rest could just add clear. Because the mechanics were much more simpler. It was kind of like connect the dots, essentially. So it was much less of a mechanically taxing. There was no DPS checks on any of the raid bosses. Legit DPS checks. There were people on contest mode. I don't know if you saw this. Rat King, which is a sidearm, a primary sidearm with 6 Rat Kings, killed Nezrak on contest mode within the first 48 hours. So, like I said, they might not have intended to, but they did. And it just kind of sparked this whole, should casuals get access? Should raids be more accessible to everybody in terms of making them a little bit easier, or should they keep the previous difficulty? And so the reason I brought this up is hopefully because it's such a hot topic right now, we'll get some controversial views. So some of that clout that David hates on Twitter.
As a person who makes opinions literally on Gaming Trend pretty much as possible, I got 4 videos out this week. 2 of them on Destiny.
Yeah, you were no holds bar on Destiny, my guy.
So when anyone comes up with an opinion that they want to voice, it has to be backed up with some sort of evidence to suggest this is why my opinion exists and this is why I think I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about Root of Nightmares and the difficulty, if there is no evidence to suggest that Bungie is moving raids in a direction to make it so easy so that people can finish contest mode on day 1, which I don't think there is a bevy of evidence to suggest that. Now we're just speculating. And when you start speculating, that's unfair. That is an unfair thing to put on Bungie because there's not much evidence except moving it to 48 hours. That's the only thing I've seen Bungie do to make raids easier to complete day 1, whatever the case may be. Contest mode. Well, contest mode. It's extended 48 hours to finish within contest mode time. Everything else, Val was not an easy raid, right?
No.
The Beyond Light raid was not it wasn't as hard as Val, but it wasn't easy. This is literally the easiest raid, I think, in Destiny history. And that's an anomaly.
Flagship expansion it is, just because there are like barely any mechanics, no DPS checks. And I don't know if you saw, I watched the world's first race.
I'm in the middle of watching it, so I haven't finished it.
So don't spoil who won, but we are much stronger as characters and stuff. Power creep is insane in this game. The world's first raid for Root was 2.5 hours.
Yep.
Which is insane.
That's the one I'm watching, yes.
Yeah, insane.
It looks like they're speed running it on the first try.
Yeah, and this is in a contest mode. Like no team showed any fear in the encounters. There was no playing for life,
Agreed.
So that I've seen some people talk about Bungie's philosophy, and they'll never say this because they can't, but there's a shift in terms of what they want the difficulty in their combat to be. And if you check like Legend Lost Sectors, Master Nightfalls this season, after Lightfall, with the changes in difficulty that made, Master Nightfall, not Grandmaster, just Master difficulty Nightfalls the enemies are more lethal than what they were in contest mode of a new raid.
Right. So this is my point with these opinions that are coming out, is that this raid is an anomaly, because if you look at what Destiny is doing, everything else is hard, yet the raid is easy. Bungie messed up. Like that That's the only conclusion you could come up with, because if the master lost sectors and all that are harder, which I read Paul Tassie's thing on that, he was like, it might be a little too hard. Those outside raid activities that are on, Legend and Master and all that, the Grandmasters, or the what's the level before Grandmaster Nightfall?
Masters.
Yeah, so the Master Nightfall. Yeah, he's like, I don't even know what I would do on Grandmaster. Like, it's kind of crazy. So you have that, and then the conclusion is, oh, Bungie's trying to make the game easier or the raids easier. But it's like, wait, the whole rest of the game is difficult. How are they? How is their philosophy on difficulty changing when they actually tried to make the game more difficult?
Well, the reason why the philosophy changed, a lot of people are thinking, is, people used to, before Lightfall and the difficulty adjustments, the raids were some of the hardest difficulty in the game.
Of course.
And meanwhile, there are majority of players able to pretty easily run Grandmaster Nightfalls with no fear, because they weren't ours. And so now, and just running strikes, you would just brain dead run through strikes. Not a care, not fight, not worried about anything. Lost sectors, very casual. Now everything is more, the rest of the game is harder, while the raid was really easy. So it's kind of confused us as little children of Bungie. So I think it's more, we're just concerned. And like you said, it could be an anomaly. It could be, but
it is. It is literally an anomaly, because it's the only raid that's like this.
I think Lightfall, or the final shape, I think will well, no, we're getting a reprise raid this year. So depending on the difficulty of that, I think we can determine whether it's, a full change.
Yes. At that point, if it were easy, then we can start having the opinion that Datto is having now. That's fine. But right now, it's too early. There's not enough information to support that opinion. So it shouldn't even be put out there, because it is exclusionary. Like, that kind of opinion is exclusionary for no reason. Because if Bungie messed up, which is entirely possible because they messed up Lightfall, so it wouldn't be impossible for them to have messed up the raid and made it too easy. Not intention, but that's what happened. So that's the only thing you can lead with. Lightfall didn't really hit. Neither did the raid. Okay, let's see what happens with the next one.
I think
now I'm gonna go make an opinion video on this, thanks to you.
Hey, I do what I can. Yeah, I do what I can. No, I'll kind of round it off with, I think the main reason why a lot of us hardcore Destiny players very into the game and stuff like that, the reason why we are voicing our concerns now is so that Bungie can take this feedback and address it going forward, to make sure, and they can see why we're concerned. And also, if they want to change that philosophy, that's their game. They have every right to do so. But that way, we at least know.
Yes.
And if they do this again, we're like, okay, cool. Like, game philosophy is changing. We have to change with it. Like, the specific raid content that we used to tout and flex on our characters because, hey, we did this super hard mode of a game mode, or version of a game mode. Yeah, that's kind of gonna have to go away. So as long as we can voice our concerns and they can get the feedback from it, they can either address it or be like, nah, bro, we're doing our game how we want to, which is fine. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how this raid reprisal race goes. But yeah, it's a good topic. I also kind of focused it more on Destiny to give David a little break, because my boy
you did talk for 40 minutes almost at the beginning. Last thing I will say about that is, I don't care if Bungie makes raids more accessible. I want to make that very clear. More accessible. As long as the fundamentals of what makes a raid great are not lost. So, skill, right? Thinking, intellect, teamwork. If a raid is more accessible for people who may not have been able to participate in them before, but yet it still is challenging. It still takes teamwork. It still takes intellect. It takes skill. Anybody can do it. I don't care. Go ahead. Day one, go for it. But if we're saying that, you know, only fully abled people should be able to do it, that's not ground I'm not willing to walk on. Nope. Not that one. So if Dado's going in that direction, do not agree with that sentiment at all. But, you know, again, I'm all for the idea of, you know, not everybody can make it into the NBA. I'm for the idea of not everybody may be able to complete the raid. But it should be based on they just didn't have it.
It was not good enough.
Yes, I'm fine with that. All right, well, that took a long time. Do we still want to do our last game? You up for it?
I need to go to bed. I have a store opening tomorrow.
Oh, you're opening tomorrow. That's right. All right. We'll save it for
Next
later
week.
then. We'll save it for later.
Yeah.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Stop in the middle of the yell.
All right. Well, since David's got a store to open tomorrow, which congratulations on that. That sounds really cool. Opening a store. I've never opened a store before. So, all right. That'll do it for us. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening. We will be back next week. Deuces.
Peace out.